Hello, Brendan. Thanks.
Hi, pleasure.
Just grab that mic to you.
Oh, yes.
Is that right?
He's got a...
Any knocks?
No, we clean bill of health. We've only got Matty James, who unfortunately has been out for a period of time. Other than that, we have everyone available.
One lucky punter now living in Canada. What a nice little Christmas bonus by backing you to win 9-0 last weekend. I bet you're probably encouraging fans to keep their money in their pocket for a similar result this time around.
Well, it was a historical one. There's only been 2 in the history. So, it was, well, obviously, I'm glad the punter's made his money, and because I think if you bet on a team to win 9-0 and it comes up, then you deserve everything you get. So that was a remarkable performance by the players. Everything we'd want in the game. It was sensational, really. And I think the thing that hasn't been spoken about, it was an awful night. You know, the weather conditions. So to play that level and that speed and with that focus in the conditions was incredible. So the players deserve all the accolades, but now we move on.
And is there a danger at all of kind of dining out on that a little bit on Saturday? Would you warn the players against that?
No, we've already had a game. You know, we already played in the week, so we've already reflected on the performance. It was fantastic, and you've got to take the real positives from it. And there are other areas that we could have scored more in. You know, we had a period, I think between 58 minutes of the game and around about the 84th minute where we didn't score. So that's something that we look at. But there was, throughout the game from the very start, our pressing, our intensity in the game was very good. And it showed that the players have learned, because I think it was last year or last season at some point they played against Southampton here for 50 minutes, and Southampton had 10 men, and Southampton won 1-0. So it shows that the players are learning and developing and putting a great performance. But there's no chance of complacency. We're very focused on winning. We've done that in the week, and now we take it into our next league game.
So it's 3rd versus 6th, 6th versus 3rd. Are you surprised that Palace find themselves in the top 6?
No, not at all. They get an outstanding manager who I've got a huge amount of respect for, and for his qualities as a coach and as a guy. Roy's done an amazing job since he's gone in there. You know, you can see the team is coached outstandingly well, managed incredibly well, and they've got, like I say, some outstanding players. So no, it's not a surprise. We know we go there. It'll be a really tough game for us, but we're ready. We're confident. We're very creative, but also defending very well.
I know stats don't really mean anything, but Leicester's record against Palace recent times hasn't been great. I think it's played 4, lost 4, aggregate of 13-1. Again, that's probably part of the pre-match speech, is it, to the players?
No, not at all. Not at all. I wasn't here then. So it's a different game for me. As long as there's the green grass and the posts, it doesn't matter where the game is. We'll go there to win. We expect a tough game. They got good players, but we want to bring our game that has been developing right the way through our time here, and we know we can cause Crystal Palace problems, but we anticipate a hard game.
The third in the Premier League in a quarter-final of a major trophy, 2 points behind City, better goal difference than Liverpool. I mean, these are obviously very happy times here at Leicester. Are the supporters right to dream? Would you urge them against dreaming, or is it good that they've got expectation for this season? No,
it's important to enjoy. I think that they seen from last season how we were trying to work and how we were trying to develop, and I was so pleased for the supporters. Our last game away at Southampton in the league, where it was absolutely hammering it down, and the journey down for them. So to come and see the team play to that level and give them that joy, I think it's great. That's what our job is. Our job is to inspire the people and the supporters. So no, I think that they're enjoying watching their team. The team's evolving and improving and developing, and they should enjoy every second of it.
Is Roy Hodgson a man you like as well as a manager you like?
Yeah, no, he's a great guy. I seen Roy yesterday at the league managers meeting. So now I've always marvelled at his enthusiasm, his energy, and also his quality. You know, he's got great qualities as a manager, and you know, for a British manager like myself, and looking to Roy and seeing his career and all the various roles that he's been in and jobs, I've got huge admiration for him. And then his work at Crystal Palace most recently, it's been absolutely amazing. And like I say, his enthusiasm for the job hasn't diminished, and you can see the players clearly playing for him.
Steve Parish admitted this week that a few years back he got an email from a colleague at Coventry telling him about this youngster called James Maddison and urging him to sign him, and he passed. I bet you're glad he did.
Yeah, and listen, Steve won't be the first. I'm sure there's lots of players get put across people at clubs, and for one reason or another they don't take them. But no, he's a big talent. We're obviously very glad that he's here, and he's shown, you know, how he's improving the rhythm in his game and controlling games and the tempo of games, but also that defensive side, which is important, the ability to press a game and then be aggressive in that press. So that's great to see young players flourishing, and he's certainly one that's doing that.
Just finally from me, off the back of what's been a difficult week for Granit Xhaka, just generically speaking, the social media in particular, kind of some of the stuff that you see on it, what goes on behind the scenes of a big club in terms of your role, if there is one, of trying to protect players from some of the worst excesses of what can be said by fans out there? Is there much work you have to put in that direction?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of work goes on within the clubs themselves to you know, for the social media education, which is important, because it's so prevalent in our world now, and especially for players. Yeah, I think you're always trying to help players deal with pressure, and I think what you've seen last week from Granit was probably a culmination of pressure that has built up over a long period of time. Whether he plays good, bad or indifferent, he looks like a player that gives his all for the club and gives everything to the game. And probably what you've seen, like you say, was that culmination of pressure. So, and it is something in this modern world that you're having to anticipate. You know, that's key, and you're trying to educate players of it. I can't say I know a great deal about it because I'm not on it, I never have been. But what I know is there's a lot of noise, and you're trying to protect your players in terms of trying to not get too carried away with the positive stuff and just ignore the negative stuff. But it's a constant education. It is very much part of the world and our game, of course. So we try and help players deal with that.
Good luck on Saturday. Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you. Hello, Brendan.
You missed it last week, didn't you?
Wow. Anybody else? What? Every person up on. But yes, I was otherwise engaged.
In Scotland?
No, not in Scotland. In Birmingham with Ryan Giggs. Don't be offended.
All right.
But
okay.
It was a late call. My colleague did very, very well. Congratulations. What an incredible and historic win. Palace away at the weekend. Looking back at Southampton, looked quite closely at some of the heat maps of your fullbacks. Ricardo and Chilwell looked very, very, very tight to getting chalk on their boots in the old kind of wingers fashion. How did that help you in an attacking sense with them being particularly wide on that night?
Well, it's a bit of both. They're having to be outside and inside. I think what was very good in our game was the rotation of the players on each side of the pitch. You know, we have set movement patterns that we look for between the full back, the inside midfield player, and the player on the side. And I think at various times in the game that those positions will rotate and change. But what is important is you have the people in the positions. And obviously if you're playing against teams that are sat in deep and sat in really compact and tight, then the ability to get lots of crosses in, both from wide areas and from the half space on the inside, it is important in your game. And I think you've seen a lot of our goals came from that combination on the side and the crosses from within that. So it's not both those. It's not just one of them, because when Ricky moves inside, you need to have someone outside, and vice versa. But both sides were very good in their movement patterns.
And then you have a very intelligent footballer who I'm not sure is getting the credit maybe that he deserves in Wilfred Ndidi at the moment. The work in that position that he's doing that sometimes goes unnoticed, possibly. How much does he allow the likes of, whether it's Pratt and Tielemans, Maddison, to move forward? But also a word on his footballing intelligence, Brendan, as well, because he seems to know where to be before the action's going to be there.
Yeah, he is an incredible player. Like you say, a lot of the offensive players will get the credit. Wilf does so much dirty work for the team. He's got this inbuilt brain for the game, where he can smell danger and read danger, and he always finds himself there. His timing of his pass or his challenge is very, very good. He can get up to the ball. We like the team to be really compact and tight and press the game. And he's up there with the very top players at winning the ball back in this league. So when you're playing that pressing game, you need someone who can do that and work that, and Wilf does it amazing. And then what he's starting to develop is the other side of his game, playing forward, moving the ball in short spaces very quickly, and also splitting the game up, moving it out onto the sides quickly. So I was so pleased with him. He's a great guy. He wants to learn. He's always smiling, and he's performing really, really well.
Does he prefer being the only player around that position? I know that Dennis Pratt can sit in and Youri Tielemans can sit in, and I know when Hamza plays, he seems to play a little deeper. But does Wilfred enjoy having more of that space to himself? Because he's played in a kind of two holding midfielders, and you've done it at times. Does he prefer being the only man back there, do you think?
I've never played that. I've always played with one and two advanced midfield players. Sometimes what happens is there's a natural, if I've played Hamza, then people may think that he's playing underneath. But I don't like anyone to get in the way of that sort of pivot player, because sometimes they're the guys that you can play through, and if you have another one there, it can get in the way. So I tend to play with normally just the one. But of course, there's times when Hamza plays, he drops underneath, and then the movement changes. So what's important is the three are all together. They're never one on their own. Each movement is coordinated and has to synchronise, because sometimes you'll have to rotate and change to create space. So, but for him, he's very, very good at it. And like you say, young Hamza as well is improving in that area also.
And Hamza popped up at almost sweeper at Burton the other night at one stage late in the game, picking it up, didn't he? Staying in the central area, Youri Tielemans, I don't know whether resurgent is a fair word to use, but he just at the moment seems to be purring, Brendan. And you played him at Luton in the Cup, I believe, and you played him at Burton in the Cup, and you've talked in the past about Youri's fitness probably being one of the important factors in his game flourishing. Is he as fit as you want him? Is he as good as you think he's going to get right now, or is there more to come from him?
He's at the level in terms of his fitness. I think when he first came back, those first few games, you're still finding his level of fitness and intensity, but he's a player that is better in rhythm. He's better playing, and hence the reason why he's played in those cup games. And there will be some points in the season, I'm sure, where we might have to take him out. But listen, he's 22 years of age. We've only played 10 games plus a couple of cup games. I know he's had international games, but he's in his flow. He's in good rhythm, and he's playing very, very well, of course.
On Palace at the weekend, Wilfried Zaha, clearly he's an incredible threat for Palace at the weekend. I'm sure you'll have watched and admired him over the course of his career. What is about him, if indeed you do, that you admire most about Wilfried Zaha?
Well, I think seeing him from back when I faced him when I was at Swansea, he's a player that can take people out of the game. He obviously loves playing at Palace. It's his home. He's come up through there as a young player, so he feels the love of the crowd and everyone else. But in the 1v1, he's a specialist. Really likes to go inside, outside, can beat a man. So for sure, he's a threat that we need to need to be aware of. But no, fantastic talent.
Kelechi Iheanacho scored the other night in the Burton game. Does he still feature in your plans long term?
Yeah, and he scored in the Luton game as well. He's unfortunate. He's playing behind one of the great strikers in Europe. You know, Jamie's absolutely at the very, very top of his game, and he's goal scoring, he's pressing, he's running, and so it's very, very difficult for him to get in. But he's very much a part of our squad, and he trains like an animal every single day. He's so good. So I know if I need to use him at the weekend or another time, he'll be ready. On
Jamie Vardy, the top goal scorer in the Premier League, how impressed with him, or have you not been surprised with how he's dealt with this, what I think has been unsavoury with the some of the stuff that's been in the media regarding his family? But Jamie's had taunts from the crowd, but he regularly has waved or scored and he's made light of it, Brendan, it would seem, when it could be challenging for somebody. How impressed have you been that Jamie's taken this seemingly on the chin and sometimes given as good as he's got?
Well, no, I think he shows the mark of why he is a top player. You know, you've seen over many years the best players normally sometimes get that little bit of stick and whatnot, but they are top players for a reason, not just because of their talent, but because of mentally they're very strong. So they have an incredible skill of being able to, dispatch any sort of noise and just focus on the game, and of course he's done that.
Roy Hodgson is still managing at the tender age of 72, right at the very top level in the Premier League and clearly in the top 10. Would you fancy still working at 72, Brendan?
Well, hopefully. I'm not sure whether it'll be in football, but I'll be doing something. He's just had a remarkable career, Roy, and like I say, it's the energy what you need to be able to manage at this level. He's obviously got huge experience working nationally and in club football around the world. But to retain that enthusiasm, you can see what he is. He loves being on the grass with players, coaching them, and I think the older you get, and obviously Roy's a bit older than me, but certainly even from when I started, when I was 35, I'm now 46. You change, you get a greater perspective on the job, and for him, he's got so much experience and so much quality to give.
Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll nip next door for